Watching Arise reports from London. Anna Meryt is an author born in Zimbabwe. She grew up in Wales and spent many years in South Africa during the 1970s. She's written a memoir about her time spent in Cape Town during apartheid called A Hippopotamus at the Table, which is published today. She's here to speak to us about that book, as well as her experiences in a divided South Africa. Thanks for coming in. Tell us firstly about the title and how that reflects the issues that you've tackled in this memoir.
Well, I knew this mixed-race guy when I lived in Cape Town, and that's what he called the way that nobody there ever talked about apartheid. He called it the hippopotamus at the table. And because it's also set in Cape Town with Table Mountain, it seemed the best title.
It's quite interesting that you say that. You say you knew a mixed-race person. At that time in South Africa, it was very hard to know people of a different colour to your own. And so therefore, even that was actually quite brave, because the races were kept so up. I mean, if you had a relationship with somebody, it was the Immorality Act, which was very much at the time. Tell us about, getting to know people who weren't white.
Well, as you say, it was very difficult, but my husband worked as an actor in quite innovative mixed-race theatre there. And it was a lot of his work was done in St George's Cathedral. They had a theatre company there, and because it was under the auspices of the church, they had mixed-race casts and mixed-race audiences, and so we got to know the casts and things. But of course, you couldn't mix with them in the evening because everybody had to go back to their townships, their areas, in the evening.
Yes, it's quite interesting how actually the arts were always, and in fact even the universities, were mixed. And Athol Fugard and Yvonne Bryceland, who were running the Space Theatre in Cape Town at the time, were very much, they did Sizwe Banzi is Dead and all those things which the government actually didn't really know. They didn't pay attention to unless somebody said something, didn't they? So a lot of that went under the wire.
Yes, and quite a few of the plays that my husband did were, very challenging in that way. But they were hidden messages. They were challenging the apartheid regime, but hiding it, really. Of course, the people writing reviews knew, but they couldn't say openly. They would hint at it in the reviews,
And did you ever get raided by the security police?
No, I think when it came to the point where we wanted where I wanted to say something out loud, and I started writing letters to the papers about the terrible things that were going on with the squatter camps and flattening them, we decided it was time to leave, because we weren't South African, and I didn't really want my daughter to grow up in that regime.
How does it make you feel now when you see incidents like the shooting at the mine of black striking mine workers, when you see that literacy rates are still incredibly poor, when you see the unemployment rate is still incredibly high? Shouldn't South Africa have moved on from that decades after the end of white minority rule?
Well, it all takes a lot of time, doesn't it? And the legacy of apartheid is still going on. I mean, don't forget that at the time I was living there, there was no free education for black people. And the kids who rioted in '76, 330 of them were murdered by security police in the Soweto riots. They actually lost out on their education.
Indeed. Okay. Well, we could talk about this forever. Thanks very much indeed for joining us here.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for today. So from me, Heather Scott.
And from me and the rest of the team, thanks for watching. You're watching Arise News. Plenty more news coming up throughout the day.